Assalamualaikum and good afternoon all. Today I would like to present about polymer coated for low energy resistance on thermoplastic polyurethane. Actually, for polymer, we know that the characteristic of polymer, it has a long molecule made up from lots of small molecules called monomers. So we know that this polymer is actually already have the excellent surface finish can be obtained. Already have the excellent surface finish. Yet, why this study have been done is why even based on all the characteristic of the polymer, still the polymer must undergo coating process. It is actually reason we want the surface finish is more excellent. We want the surface finish is good. That's why we must go for coating process. So, problem segment and scope of this study is about the substrate itself, the polymer itself, where we can see from the left figure here, the polymer substrate is untreated. Then we can see that the droplet of water here just go through the substrate without carry out the any dust or any contaminant on the surface. Then on the right side here, it is actually the treated surface of the polymer. Then we may see that when the water go through the surface, it also carry out the contaminant or any dust or anything that appear on the surface. It's carried out together uh, with the water itself. Then it actually we may see that the surface is already clean. So from here, based on study by McLeod, year 2002, actually the base one is the substrate. The lower base here is the substrate. The second layer here is the adhesive, where the adhesive we will make sure that the upper layer will connected with the substrate. Then the upper layer here we have a cover layer and also the conductor itself, where the conductor would printed on the substrate. So the scope of study for this project is actually substrate must undergo cleaning process by ultrasonic bath procedure, and then we have different substrate type. So two kind of polymer where we have TPU, which is thermoplastic polyurethane, and we also have PET, which is polyethylene terephthalate, where we want to compare the outcome for this project. And then when we have this substrate, then we undergo the coating process, which is the coated material is titanium dioxide. We have two types of titanium dioxide, so type 1 and type 2, which is already made. And then all the samples must undergo water contact angle. So water contact angle from here, from the reading or from the outcome that we have from water contact angle, then we know how is actually the coating give benefit to the substrate. And then after that we will see the surface energy outcome. Okay, this is the problem statement and scope of this study. And then, as I said earlier, so the polymer that we want to study from this project is actually TPU and PET. So TPU and PET is common polymer, but it have additional consideration that we must go through. That's why, based on the properties of the material, we suggest that the material must undergo coating process in order to get certain properties that we want from the study. So the innovation is actually we put a layer of coating on the polymer. Okay, the coating itself is actually the titanium dioxide. The benefit that we can get from the coating is actually it will protect surface from dirt and moisture. So actually, earlier I already show the difference of substrate, uh, the untreated one and the treated one. Actually, the treated one we just coated the substrate with titanium dioxide. And then whereas the benefit is actually it lasts longer even the substrate exposed to the weather, then the surface cleanliness quality assurance is really assured. And then in terms of cost effective, titanium dioxide is more effective than other coating. So actually, the water coated angle, we want to consider that the water coated angle is larger, so that the droplet of water would not be absorbed by the substrate. Besides, it would clean the substrate, the surface of the substrate by carry out the dirt or any moisture on the surface itself. What is the important terms for this study? Actually, we want to study the coated angle. After we coated the substrate, we want to see the coated angle of the substrate of the sample, and then we want to know the wettability of the outcome of the wettability for the surface, and then we want to study the energy resistance, also the outcome of energy resistance for the substrate. Actually, for contact angle, contact angle is actually the particular angle at the edge of a liquid drop to a surface. So you may say here, this is actually the contact angle. So for this project, after we coated the substrate with titanium dioxide, actually we want to see whether the coated would help the substrate, the polymer, increase the contact angle of the water. And then actually by study the contact angle, it is a common ways to measure the wettability of a surface. Wettability is actually the ability of any solid surface to be wetted when in contact with a liquid. As for this study and for recent study, actually for the polymer, we want to make sure that the polymer have low wettability. Why we want it low wettability? So that the surface of polymer would not easily absorb the any moisture or water on its surface. And then about the energy resistance, we want that the substrate, because actually polymer, nowadays polymer is have been used widely as a substrate or a film that we would printed the conductor on top of the polymer. Then because of the printed process, we don't want the surface to be wet. So from this study, we want to make sure that by coated the substrate, we are sure that the substrate would not easily absorb any moisture on top of it. Okay, actually the research objective of this project is to investigate the effect of titanium dioxide coating on polymer, especially thermoplastic polyurethane, regarding its contact angle. Then we want to study the surface energy performance of the coated and uncoated substrate. So in doing the study, actually we have done some review on previous study. So we do the study about the polymer substrate, about the outcome of titanium dioxide coating, the wettability, and also about the surface energy. Then from the literature review, we come up our project model together with the step to carry out to develop the project. Then from the literature review, the research scope is like this one. So actually from the previous study about the variety of polymer, and then we want to focus on surface analysis, the coating angle testing, and coating types. So we come up with our own study for TPU and also PET. The methodology that we do for this project is actually, first we started with sample preparation for TPU and PET materials with appropriate parameter, and then we coated the sample with two types of titanium dioxide for comparison purpose. And then for wettability scope, we find the water contact angle of samples surface. So we got the reading. We try to get the reading of water contact angle of the sample surface. Then last one, we come out the method. We try to find the best method of calculating or of finding the surface energy performance of both TPU and PET. Okay, this is actually the process of sample preparation. So we started cleaning the substrates by using ultrasonic bath procedure, and then we dry the substrate. Then last one, we would coated the substrate with titanium dioxide. And then this is actually the apparatus to get the value of water contact angle of the substrate. So actually the substrate, we cut it we cut it as a sample with 20 millimeter wide, 60 millimeter long, and then we divided the substrate with four different area, and then for 6 different area, and then we would drop the water for this 6 area, and then we using the WCA measurement tools. By using the WCA measurement tools, we capture the water droplet, and then we measure the contact angle. We measure the contact angle by just drawing, draw the exact angle reading, and then from that we get the value of water contact angle. So this is the actually how we get the water contact angle from the we make sure that the surface is straightly like this one, and then we just adjoin the line so that we get the value of the angle. And then after we get the value of water contact angle, then by using this study about the surface energy equation, then we using the standard graph or standard outcome of surface energy performance, then we get the value based on the value water contact angle that we have before. Okay, as for surface energy analysis, after doing the experiment, which is after get the value of water contact angle, then from the value of water angle, we get the regression line of contact angle with the surface energy analysis. From here, this is actually the diagram or the graph of standard regression line of water contact angle and critical surface tension for various polymer. So actually we will adjoin from the average contact angle by sample. Actually sample A, B, C, D, E, F is for different parameters of substrate, and then we do the droplet of water, then we get the water contact angle. From the average value of water contact angle, we just adjoin it to the regression line, then drop down for the x-axis. From here, we can get the surface energy value. Okay, this is actually the outcome of the water contact angle. So the sample A, B, C, D, E, actually sample A is for uncoated polymer. Sample B, uncoated polymer also, but different type. Actually, we have PET and also TPU. And then the sample C is actually the coated polymer with with coating process 1, and then we also have coating process 2. So the outcome is here. So you may see that the water contact angle for uncoated polymer is lower than the coated one. Actually, the coated one for types 1. For types 2, uncoated polymer, value of contact angle is larger than the coated one. So from here, as I said earlier, the value of average contact angle with the adjoint to the regression line, then we drop down it to the x-axis, so we can get the value of surface energy analysis. This is the result and discussion for this research. So by innovate the substrate, by coated it with titanium dioxide, we may see from here that actually the coated process actually improve the value of average contact angle and also the value of surface energy analysis. Actually, these two point here, this earlier point here started from left. It is actually value for uncoated substrate. And then once we coated it with the titanium dioxide, we may see that the surface energy value is actually is decreasing. Where for this analysis, we want that the surface energy is lower, so that we know that the adhesion between moisture and also the substrate is not that strong, because we want that once the water droplet is on top of the substrate, it would easily just appear by sliding through the substrate. As for conclusion of this study, it can be concluded that polymer coating using titanium dioxide did improve the low energy resistance of the substrate. Titanium dioxide coating on polymer did increase the average water contact angle values of the materials, especially on thermoplastic polyurethane. Yet, it would differ for different density of titanium coating. Surface energy performance of the coated polymer would decrease based on coating applied, shown that by having certain types of coating, the energy resistance to disperse liquid on top of the surface will also be lesser. So this is actually the easier understanding by looking at the image, so we know that how is actually we consider that the substrate have high water contact angle and also low energy resistance. Thus, from this study, we know that polymer is already known, been using on various of industry. So by coated it with titanium dioxide, it will improve the properties of the material. Then after doing the research, there's some recommendation that I would like to arise for all. Actually, it is good to study the best density or layers that give the best cover of the substrate. And then it is suggested to study different approach to evaluate the surface energy performance. Whereas for this project, we just focus on linear regression of the surface energy analysis. And then I also would suggest others to study and develop complete flexible circuit with deposited conductive ink on the substrate. Then, after that, we apply coating as cover layer of the circuit in order to get the real effect of titanium dioxide coating on the circuit. Last one, it is suggested to study printed substrate that covered with protective layer of any kind of coating in order to see whether it will aggregate conductive ink by make it firmly printed on substrate. That's all from me. Thank you. Actually, I'm very thankful my beloved family and also my research group, which is actually Mr. Azmi Naro and also Mr. Fitri, and indirectly to scholarship division. Whereas by having the scholarship, I may done the study, and Ministry of Education and also University Technical Malaysia for helping me to finish the study. That's all from me. Thank you so much.